Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. This video is an analysis of the earlier smoking debate that I published on this channel, in which I argued both sides of the House. I argued for the proposition saying that smoking should be outlawed, and I argued for the opposition saying no, smoking should not be outlawed. So I'm going to analyse the way I did it and the arguments I advanced. So you might have noticed I had 4 major arguments for both sides, and people usually have about 4, depending on how much time you've got, or indeed how much depth you wish to go into in exploring each argument. And notice I began in the traditional fashion by looking at the chair, saying, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, that's greeting everybody who's there. I went on to state my opinion, the one I was told to advance. What I really believe doesn't matter. You put on one side, you put on the proposition, the opposition, you argue that case to the best of your ability, even if you don't believe what you're saying. It's like a lawyer. Supposing you have a client, you fight for the client, him or her, whether you like them or not, you do the very best you can to advance that case. So there I said that smoking should be outlawed, and then I adumbrated the reasons. First of all, I said smoking is bad for people's health. So that was my assertion. Then I gave the reason. Well, it causes pulmonary cancer, heart attacks, and cancer of the throat and lips and tongue and so forth. And then I gave the evidence. I said there was that study published by Dr. Richard Doll in the British Medical Journal in 1950. In fact, there was a similar German study in the 1930s arriving at the same conclusion, but that wasn't known. That wasn't widely publicised at the time. So people often do it that way: assertion, reason, evidence. Assert that smoking is bad for your health, give reasons, well, citing the disease that it causes, and giving the evidence, citing a study. Now, there are innumerable studies one could point to. Many of them are more recent, but that was the seminal one, the Richard Doll study, because it was the first one to be widely disseminated, and going through other reasons. I try to speak in an animated style, as I said before, varying the tone, sometimes angry or optimistic. I'm not sure what else I could do. Occasionally calm. So it's rather different from my ordinary speaking voice now, because my style at the moment is almost I'm speaking à deux. But when you're addressing a large group of people, you must be livelier than that. Engage the audience, look around, make eye contact. Now, some speakers find it inhibiting to make eye contact. So if you find that difficult, what you do is look at the person's forehead, and then it tricks them into thinking you're looking at their eyes, but you're not. You're looking at their forehead, and it's a bit less, less daunting for the speaker. So I'm looking at the screen, look at my own eyes, I now look at my own forehead. You probably wouldn't be able to tell if I hadn't pointed that out to you. And then obviously don't death stare somebody. We're not trying to lock eyes. We're trying to look around a little bit. Yeah. So if you have notes, have them down here. I can refer down to them, see where I am. Don't write out every word. Write out bullet points, and that will remind me, oh yeah, Richard Doll. And then I'll be able to spin it out a bit. So if I was speaking for, say, 5 minutes, I would have, say, 50 words written down max, just to jog my memory. Don't write out an entire script. Don't read out the whole document. It comes across as over-rehearsed. It's bland, and it disengages the audiences. You don't want to lose their attention. Moving reasonably fast. Just looking down, looking up like that. Looking down occasionally, and make sure I don't forget anything, because sometimes I've made a speech, sat down and thought, oh, I forgot a crucial point. What you don't want to do is have the piece of paper more or less to hide behind, because some people are speaking from behind the piece of paper, not looking at the audience, or indeed having it down here. Do not talk to your toes. Saying don't talk to your toes. Engage with the audience, moving your body a little bit of gesticulation. This one, I've got to have one hand on the selfie stick, almost like you're saying, beckoning them, come here, I want to give you a big hug. Things like that. Listing the points, numbering them like this. So using the right level of gesticulation. Not really wild ones, not so that it's ludicrous. I pointed out how smoking is addictive and so on. I anticipated one of the major arguments the other side was going to be choice. We have a choice. So therefore I had to try and negate that and say it's not a real choice. You maybe choose to smoke your first cigarette, but pretty soon you're hooked and you can't give up. It's like any other addiction. It registers in the brain. These people are addicted to nicotine and so forth. creates a dependency, this behavior. And then I'm pointing out how smoking ruins the economy, which is not one people advance very much. And I went on to say how it makes people ugly, which is flippant and superficial, but nevertheless, some people care about their looks. Try to come up with 4. Health is the chief reason, which is why I started with that. Start with your most important one, make an impact, because you might be running out of time. You might spend a bit longer than you thought on the earlier part of your argumentation and not have sufficient time to do justice to the reasons later on. So the less persuasive information we will leave last. People are more attentive. They will absorb more of what you say at the beginning than towards the end. They attach greater importance to the first thing you say, even if it's not more important. Even if you said it's relatively unimportant, the fact that you opened with it would make people sometimes wrongly assume that it's vital, even when it isn't. So I went over the arguments again. Well, it's about health, it's about the economy, it's about being ugly, and it's not a choice, something like that. Now, the danger with anticipating their arguments is then one ends up making their arguments for them, and your time is limited. So you don't always do that. Supposing you anticipate quite a forceful argument on the other side, don't bring it up. Just in case they didn't think of it. They might have forgotten to mention that one, so we're not going to say that because that's helping them. And signing off in the typical way saying, I beg to propose. Or you could say, and that is why I urge the House to support this motion. So your finale should be strong. Finish off with some flourish, okay? A really bad way to finish this, and I've seen people do it, is when they're standing up saying, yeah, and that's, kind of why I think I'll end. I'm gonna sit down about now. Yeah, that's it. Now that's a terrible way to finish because you just faded away. You got quieter, you broke eye contact, you started mumbling, you sat down while still speaking, you were signaling to the audience to stop listening before you finished. And even if you'd given a bravura oration earlier on, you've really undermined your work like that towards the end. So that's an analysis of how I try to do it, how I try to retain the audience attention, move reasonably fast, speaking quite quickly. Nonetheless, there should be clarity of diction. I strove to enunciate things in such a way that everybody could understand me. There I am, perhaps overdoing it. But some people, when they speak too fast, they come kind of unclear, difficult to understand what they're saying. We don't want that. So not hyper fast. We're not trying to say micro machines come in collections of 5, 100 times a minute or something. So if you've got plenty of information, you need to pack it in. Don't be afraid to leave a pause. So those are some of the things I try to do in order to make that an effectual debating speech. Later on, I'll analyse my speech against the motion.